want you to know that you came into my life in the very perfect time. And you have brought forth healing that I can't even comprehend or share. It's amazing to be in a group of individuals that are committed to transforming the consciousness of humanity by shifting the idea, the perception, and the misperception of a fearful mind called the ego, and is willing to let pride go, let, self-righteousness go, let the ideas that we hold so clearly, let control go, let all of these things go that become the ways that we have walked in the world in a system that has been built on separation and fear that is now crumbling. And then to have the humility and the courage to say, love's the only power. But I love you when something's going wrong. But I love you when there seems to be a disagreement. And then we place whatever that is upon the altar, and we trust and know that divine love is what absolutely heals everything and makes all of that melt away into the nothingness from which it came. And there we are. We can meet face to face. Christ to Christ, love to love. And see beyond the appearances that shrouded the vision to the reality that is true, that we are one. It is only in this that we could ever utter the words, I am fearless. Because of my own self, I'm full of fear. But the surrendered self may utter those words and actually mean it and know it, because we know that we walk not alone, that we take the hand of those who are next to us, and we walk forward and can actually be fearless in unity and limitless in life. And this is the promise of our teaching. This is the promise of our teaching, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to be in these conversations with you. And so mindful of the fact that a force of nature has swept through our community and swept through our lives. And in the ebb and the flow and the force of it all, rushing in and then rushing out and taking with it our belongings, our dwellings, our vehicles. And to still be in the presence of individuals who have seemed to lost by the world's standards everything. And when I utter the words, I'm so sorry, and then to be told, no, don't be sorry, I'm looking for what's next. That's power. That's fearlessness. That's limitlessness. And that is what our teaching gives us. And so I bow to the individuals that are going through this experience in this particular way. I bow in humility and gratefulness and thankfulness to those in this community who are meeting the needs. And to those who in consciousness are companioning those who are feeling that fearfulness. And without judgment, we just hold to know that something wonderful and magnificent, even in this, is actually happening. We just can't see it yet.
We just can't see it, but by our affirming it and claiming it, we anchor it for one another. And then the bodaciousness of the synchronicity of, well, we're going to teach prosperity during the month of October. And then I'm going to come up here and teach tithing 26 days after a hurricane. Who are you to do that? Who are we not to? Because if our spiritual teaching is invalid and true in these moments, then it's not valid and true. The truth is true always. Always. And so we move on, we go on. We care, we share, we give. Now is actually the time to be giving. Now, in this time when everything's been washed away and we have this opportunity to rebuild, that we can rebuild upon a foundation of principle and truth, knowing that nothing in form is eternal. It is just but the temporary movement of the mind of God. And what is birthed in time shifts and changes in time, but that which is eternal, the love and the companionship, the givingness, and take a breath with me here, the ability to receive, to know that you are worthy to receive. My Catholic friends who said, Lord, I am not worthy to receive you every week. We now shift that statement to, Lord, I am worthy to receive you now and always, because I am, as you created me, beloved, perfect, whole. And so those of us in our community, please hear this. It's okay to receive. It's okay to allow your brothers and sisters to love you and to give to you in a time of need. That this giving and this receiving is one. It collapses into oneness. It's never separate. We need both. And so this is the perfect topic for where we're at and for this conversation. I was having a conversation with my spiritual counselor, and she was talking about a beautiful destruction. And that felt like it kind of slapped in the face a little bit. But in our, something's got to give for something new to come forth. And so in the Hindu teaching, the goddess Kali, the destroyer, represents that teaching that something has to go away for something new to come forth. And sometimes in this human experience, it feels jolting and it feels violent. But then that truth that is true always, something else is coming and seeking to be expressed and experienced now. And in this divine and perhaps sometimes beautiful destruction, as I was talking with people who went through this, we had our prayer chaplains come together and share what the experience was like for them. And since I was I don't know how, I need to calculate how many miles away. I want to say tens of thousands of miles away, but I don't think it was that quite that far. But it felt that way, that what was it like? And everybody had a different experience of it. That there were moments of quietness and awe and wonder and fear, like this whole mixture of things. And then I come back to campus, and really just the other day, since I didn't know what exactly happened or what it looked like, I don't know. My husband, Tony, Brother T, Director of Operations, the hats he wears, we're walking around campus, and he's showing me, well, there was a big tree here that's not here anymore. And that, I want you to look in the parking lot. And when you guys go today, look in the parking lot. There has been a clearing such that some of the trees that were, was a lot of dead trees and a lot of things that got blown away, and that in this clearing that you can actually see the beauty of the trees that remain. And you can see the grandeur and the beauty of them. And then I was over in the area behind the youth department with the gardeners. And did you know that there's such a thing as a pruning specialist? I had no clue, so I'm with Jan Marie and Pat and they're teaching me and talking about pruning, and I'm like, no, don't kill that tree. And they're like, no, we have to prune away that which doesn't belong anymore, because all of the life energy and all of the life force is going to be dedicated to keeping these dead branches alive, or at least erect. And so I'm kind of making some of this up. This might not actually be in, I'm filling in some blanks here. So please don't Google on pruning specialists, because Reverend Claudia's got that all wrong. But because I'm always translating everything into spiritual teaching and principle, that which I was like, no, don't do that, was like, no, that's what needed to happen. And so in our spiritual teaching, somehow we trust whatever has happened actually needed to happen. And that's tough sometimes in our humanity. But what other choice do we have? I mean, we've been doing the other choice for a long time, resisting that which already is. But what if we just walk into the acceptance of what already is? And so, the audacity, it feels like then to have a tithing conversation in the midst of this, I still am getting revealed to me that it is actually perfect. Actually perfect. I know from having conversations with individuals in many spiritual communities, several that I have served, that this is always a topic. It's always one that brings forth a lot of different opinions. But just like anything else we teach, so I'm going to bring forth a teaching about this, but what I want you to do, what is most important is, it doesn't matter if we're talking about tithing or meditation or spiritual practice or spiritual study or discipline. Doesn't matter what the topic is. The teaching is actually, and the lesson is actually in how does it occur for you? What do we make it mean? And this is an amazing opportunity, in my opinion, to heal something. To heal something. Anytime we have a reactivity to a topic or a subject, assuming we do, because there are people who are like, yes, tithing, I love to tithe. It's so much fun. I love the generosity. I love the giving. I love the discipline of it because it makes me conscious of what I'm doing and how I'm giving. And then there are others that are like, yeah, that reminds me of being in church as a little kid and hearing really weird mixed messages. And it reminds me of ought tos, shoulds, have tos, and musts. And what I want to say is all those words I just said, you can write on a piece of paper when we do our burning bowl in a couple weeks, and you can put it to the flame and let it go. Because I want you to hear there is no must, ought tos, have tos here in this community. Mm-hmm. But there is spiritual principle. Applause. But there is spiritual principle, and so we get this opportunity, not unlike a hurricane or some sort of clearing, we get this opportunity to look at something and look at where our reaction is, look at where our reactivity on a subject is, and to know that any time that we have reactivity about anything, it's not about out there. Take that breath. That there's something within me to heal, because there's nothing going on out there. But what I project from my consciousness, from my mind, from the thoughts that I'm thinking about a thing. And so I was in the airport on my way home. I knew it was going to be a relatively long trip, but But I wanted to come home. I was ready. I had an extraordinary experience, and I was ready to come home. And I'm in the airport in Portugal. And, everything's different. You don't know what it's going to be. I can't quite read the signs. I'm, kind of following people. I'm like at one point, checking in, like, is this where I'm supposed to go? And at some point you become like cattle or like a herd, like you just start following. And there's actually the ropes, and you got to, it was crowded. And I find myself behind a group of priests. I mean, these aren't your normal, just have a little collar priests. These are, I was going to say ordained, but ornate. Thank you. It was like this, they had these robes. Actually, I admired the robes because they were fitted on top, and they kind of went out at the bottom, and that's a look I can wear. And so that works for me. I'm like, But anyway, I digress. And they are walking through, and they're walking ahead of me, and I'm behind them. I'm not in trouble, am I? There's some noise. The Catholic police are going to come and get me now. So anyway, there I am. And mind you, this is Claudia. This is me. This is me looking at what triggers me. This is not anything about a whole faith. This is just me and what I carry with me inside me and where my thoughts went and how I got reactive and triggered, thinking I had healed this, thinking I was healed of any thoughts of negativity that I might have. And what started going through my mind was, the woundedness of my religious upbringing. And I'm not going to detail the thoughts that came through. It wouldn't be very ministerial of me right now. But it was something I was like, because I was tired and I was in a new place, it was something I really had to look at. And I was like, wow. It wasn't about them, it's about me. And what am I carrying? Because what I've been taught and through my ministerial training is I can go into anything, any religious faith, and I can just, see the beauty and the pathway for the individual. And here at Unity, we honor all pathways, do we not? And yet, we cannot deny that unity comes into existence and that a group of people probably sitting here, maybe not, but probably, have come from other traditions where they felt a woundedness. And so this idea of the courage that it takes to walk a different path than maybe the faith that you were brought up in, and to reconcile that and to forgive your beliefs about that. And the people who come to mind for me are those who have gone before us, like Jimmy Carter, Jimmy Carter years and years ago, after 66 decades of being in the Southern Baptist religion and faith, in an article called Losing My Religion. And it was losing my religion, and his stance was about that he could no longer abide in that because of the stance on women and equality. And that he used it as looking at worldwide how women are treated, and how worldwide the world still allows this to continue. But he was making a statement that he could no longer be part of a religion that would in any way marginalize women. Or I think of Bishop Carlton Pearson, who at the pinnacle of his career as a Pentecostal minister could not reconcile the loving God that he knew in his heart with the punitive God of his religion as it pertained to the treatment of gays. I watched a movie this week called Boy Erased with Russell Cole, Nicole Kidman, and Lucas Hedges. And it was a memoir by Garrett Connolly. He was raised by a Baptist pastor, and that he was sent to a gay conversion therapy. And the woundedness that he experienced and that so many have experienced. And that we in unity have reconciled so many of these things about what God is and about what spirit is and about what love is. And that we say all are welcome here. This is a conversation. I'm going to get to the tithing piece. That all are welcome here. All are welcome here. We honor many pathways to God, but we claim that a God is of love, that it is within us, and that we know that there's a power and a presence, and that not unlike our Creator, that we are creative beings, and that through the power of our mind, capital M mind, and aligning our small t thoughts with the mind of God, that we can begin to create like our Creator, and that we are welcome and open and accepting, and heck, I can be a minister here as a woman. I mean, it's a great, great pathway of spiritual principle and truth. And of all of the things, do you know what it still teaches, though? Could have let it go. Unity still teaches about tithing. So there was this opportunity, right, to really let that go too. But no, the Fillmores were tithers. And what is a tithe? A tithe means 10%. And if you research this and you go back, yes, it was a tax during a time that was for the government and for, oppressive regimes. And if you didn't, you couldn't do a burning bowl in that time and error and say, well, my minister said I don't have to. That I go to my heart and then I allow my heart to guide me in these matters. No, you couldn't do that. But I think of, I don't know if anybody knows our friends Claire and Jamie from Outlander. Any Outlander people here? So, in that show, the landowners, they would hold these events where the people who lived on the land would give their tithe. But there was a reciprocity and there was a benevolence in it. When Unity talks about tithing, it's a spiritual principle and law that is a representation of an eternal law about generosity and giving. And the idea is that you give 10% of all that you receive to God. And how it's translated in our scripture is that you give it to where your spiritual sustenance comes from. You give it to in support of the spiritual sustenance, and it's an outer demonstration showing your partnership with God, and that you offer your financial affairs in partnership with God, with Spirit. Now, here's the deal, and here's how I teach this. God doesn't care whether you tithe or not. That's me, that's Claudia, that's my opinion, and I can't teach otherwise. But what I can say is that I care whether I give and how I give. And as a human in this experience, what I find and have found in my history, and I'm rediscovering again, is that this practice is for me. This practice is to stretch me so that I have a generosity and giving program that is identifiable, that is first and foremost. So my first fruits are offered to my partnership with Spirit. And for me, the way the Fillmores did this was through their dedication. And I've read this dedication for you before, and I will read it right now. And what it says is this. It says, we, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, husband and wife, hereby, now take a breath, dedicate ourselves, our time, our money, all we have and all we expect to have to the Spirit of truth. To me, this is a definition of a tithe or a gift or an offering to your spiritual sustenance. We give it all to the Spirit of truth. It being understood that then that Spirit of truth, being benevolent, shall render unto us an equivalent. And right here is what prosperity is. What do you receive? What is the outcome? What is the demonstration? Peace of mind, health of body, wisdom, understanding, love, life, and an abundant supply of all things necessary to meet every want, without making any of these things my focus or the object of my existence. To me, that's freedom. To me, that's prosperity. To me, that's faith and trust, and a freedom from fear of loss, a freedom from a fear of lack. The quote that it is based on is this: bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Bring the whole tithe. So when we talk about this, we're talking about bringing all of us. And then this piece of it is the outer demonstration. But you know what? I'm dedicating all of myself. I bring the whole tithe, all of my gifts. I bring it to God. And in my human experience, I'm doing this so that I can prove, so that I'm proving for myself the law that works, that giving and receiving are one. And to see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. If my eye is single, my whole body shall be filled with light. And this generosity practice is just an outer demonstration of the dedication that we have. We bring the whole tithe. And so as I'm thinking of the trees in my mind's eye, where I used to live, the colors would be flourishing right now in the autumn leaves. And what I learned is that those leaves, the color of those leaves are the true color. That during the summer that the chlorophyll covers up the true colors of the leaves. And yet, as we go towards winter and all of the leaves have been given, all of the gifts of the tree have been given in the outer, and we have the silhouette of a tree, the trunk of the tree. And we can take our little pruning knife and we can nick at it and we can see that it's alive. It appears that it isn't, but it's alive. And we give our whole tithe. The earth gives all of it to that tree that it may be strong, so that when it's time to blossom again, the branches are fed by the trunk of the tree. The giving of our generosity to our spiritual sustenance is like supporting the tree that is the Christedness of our nature, such that everything that we express and extend and do are supported from it. Because without that tree, the branches will die. Our generosity and our giving to our spiritual sustenance, to the meal that's been placed out for this community, the courses, the beauty, sustains us so that we may flourish and continue to give our gifts of awakening. That it is all offered to the Spirit of truth, to God. This is the community that you live in. This is your community. This is the community that we are dedicated to the Spirit of truth here. And that everything else is just a byproduct of that. Take a breath with me. I have, the board just came to mind. We have this amazing board of directors, and we have these conversations about these topics. And our board, do you know we tithe? We tithe on every gift you give. We give 10%. We give it. We extend it, and we do it in a faithfulness. But we're looking at, are we doing it consciously? Do we believe that we're doing it in a way that is saying it's for the Spirit of truth? And are we communicating with our community this practice that it's not really for the community, that it's for the individuals in the community to have this practice and this generosity and giving? And we thought, maybe we just need to change the name and call it something else. What do you guys think? We could change the name, but unless we heal our relationship with it, it won't matter. It won't matter. And so I think of the generosity that is already given. I invite you to look around this space. Look around the grounds. Look around you. That this is a community that has been built decade over decade over decade by communities that love God, by individuals that are generous and giving, by communities that are also willing to receive and answer the call for the need that comes forth. And so what my commitment to you and to this community as your spiritual leader is to continue to ensure that all things are dedicated to the Spirit of truth first and foremost. That everything that we do, everything that we give is for that. It's for our awakening. And I can think of nothing more important in our world right now than that. Are you willing to be made new? Are you willing to allow the newness that is coming forth to have full sway, even if it's hard to let go? Are you willing with me to dedicate it all to the living, loving Spirit of truth? And so my dedication to this community, and I invite those who are called to join me with this, is that I am going to explore this myself and to prove this principle in my life and in the life of this community. And as I do so, what I hold, know, and claim for each and every one of us is this: peace of mind. Say, I have peace of mind. I have peace of mind. Say, I accept health of body. I am wisdom. I allow understanding. I am love. Life is. And we are supplied abundantly in all things necessary for our awakening and for our extension of our gifts in the world. As I rise, we all rise. And take a breath. I know and claim that we are in the flow of life. We are in the flow, the abundant flow of giving and receiving. And it is good and very good.